presented in this program are going to express the specific views of the Matthew Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Regenerates Radio Network.
Welcome back to Culture and Sanity, episode number 9. Just a quick test, make sure everything's good. Does it look good on your end?
Well, I mean, it looks fine, but it was, like, right now it's redlining in sound, and I'm not really sure what's up with that, so I'm going to test it on my end, but you can keep going.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, last time we had some sound issues, but just trying to make sure that that is better for this time around. So, yeah, welcome back to the Culture and Sanity podcast, episode number 9, as I said. If you saw our Facebook page just now, you'd know that today, I don't think there's any spoilers, so no need for the spoiler alert loud horn for you. But some of the topics we're going to be going over, because some people are asking that we, give that up front, so that, they can basically decide when and how they want to listen. But talking a little bit about Super Bowl commercials, talking a little bit about an article or an interview Erykah Badu, the singer, had about her views on a certain Adolf Hitler, and talking about just filmmaking and what level is acceptable to go to in order to capture authentic filmmaking, I suppose, because that's a hot topic nowadays. And then finally, there's a whole bit about James Franco, and he was snubbed, if you believe that, from an Oscar nomination because of certain heat that he's under right now. So talking a little bit about that. If there's time, we might get to a little movie review. Josh and I watched a movie that's interesting to talk about, or maybe some Black Panther hype, and talking about if it's just well founded or not. So yeah, excited to get back into the swing of things again. Episode number 9. So yeah, with that said, I guess we'll just jump right into it. The most relevant thing, since we're like not quite a week removed from the Super Bowl, but as always, the Super Bowl 52 offered up some interesting commercials. Some of them good, some of them hilarious, some of them exciting, like all the movie trailers pretty much. Mm-hmm. And some of them controversial, as per usual. You're always guaranteed probably one controversial commercial. Usually it's Apple, I feel like. Doesn't Apple always have stuff that at least
I don't know,
from a Christian person is some red flags? So. Yeah. Apple, yeah. I just remember the Robin Williams. That was an Apple commercial, right?
Yeah, it was taken from
a movie,
Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, I remember taking issue with that. I'm gonna look that commercial up.
Yeah, so this year, I think the most controversial. There's probably two. We'll go with the less interesting one, but there was a Toyota commercial, and for those of you that have seen it, so probably most of the people in this country, because for whatever reason, the Super Bowl is the most watched event in America. Mm-hmm. So beats me. Think it's silly. Don't like football. Like sports. Don't like football. But there was a Toyota commercial. So car commercials is the trending topic for this one. But where, let's see if I can remember correctly. It was advertising Toyota pickup trucks, and a Catholic priest, stepped away from, his job, and then, he gets picked up by, a Jewish rabbi and an Islamic priest or something. I don't know what you'd call that.
Right.
But
I can't remember what that's called.
Yeah, and then, they picked up, a Buddhist monk or something, and maybe one other person. But, yeah, the thing progresses, and they're, at a game, and they meet up with some some nuns or something, and they save their seats, and at the end of the commercial they throw up on the commercial we're all on one team or something like that, and it's advertising Toyota trucks, but it's just interesting and very specific on their part, just what they're using to illustrate their point, I guess.
Right.
Specific religious figures. Like, I was thinking about it like yesterday or something. Like, it'd be one thing if they use like just like different nationalities of people, or
Right.
you know,
Right.
like an Asian person and maybe
Right.
a black person and a white person, and you know, whatever it may be, and then you can throw that message up there and it'd be definitely a lot less controversial, I'd say. You know, just the concept, you know, treating people as equals, but instead they threw up there this imagery of, you know, different religions, and you know, we're all one team, you know, we can all get to the same, I don't know, truth or whatever, no matter what you believe.
Right. It's a universalist.
Yeah, universalist. And so I thought that was interesting and not so subtle, very overt and in your face, and just more on that trend of, the opposite of what it is that we believe, I guess. So, I don't know.
Excuse me, guys. I'm not feeling great.
Yeah, Josh is getting off a cold, so there was that, and that was annoying, but whatever. But the more controversial commercial was the Dodge Ram, or maybe not Dodge. I heard
It was Ram.
I heard that Dodge doesn't own Ram trucks or something like that anymore. I could be wrong. Whatever. Ram trucks. We'll just call it that. Ram trucks did a commercial, and they used a segment of a Martin Luther King Jr. sermon. So I'll just play the audio for you guys.
If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great. You don't have to know about Plato and Aristotle to serve. You don't have to know the theory of relativity to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics in physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace. Soul generated by love.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely like a powerful commercial. Just the very nature of who MLK Jr. was, I think, you know, and the effectiveness and the truth behind some of the stuff he was talking about. And especially like in the commercial, like the imagery they're using, you know, like pictures of firefighters and pictures of like military people and, you know, so on and so forth, like helping each other out and stuff. But what's interesting about that commercial is that in the same commercial that they're using how do I say this? They're using a part of a sermon or speech that he gave to sell cars, right?
Right.
But in that exact same speech or sermon, he's like completely speaking against this exact thing that they're doing. And I mean, it's pretty instant, I'd say, like the backlash that started coming up on social media and stuff,
right,
against him. Just here's the part of his sermon that would, you know, speak to this.
The presence of this instinct explains why we are so often taken by advertisers. You know, those gentlemen of massive verbal persuasion. And they have a way of saying things to you that kind of gets you in the bind. In order to be a man of distinction, you must drink this whiskey. In order to make your neighbors envious, you must drive this type of car. In order to be lovely to love, you must wear this kind of lipstick or this kind of perfume. And you know, before you know it, you're just buying that stuff. And I've got to drive this car because it's something about this car that makes my car a little better than my neighbor's car. And I am sad to say that the nation in which we live is the supreme culprit. And I'm going to continue to say it to America.
So there's that.
There's that.
I feel sad for MLK. I can't help but think that he's like turning in his grave, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, I think the question is, how can you believe anything that's like being presented in the media anymore? You know, with stuff like this, something that was the words taken from his mouth to advertise and promote something which is the exact opposite of what he was talking about in his sermon. Or is a sermon, right? Is that a sermon?
It's a sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's the exact opposite, but it's the application of it is different than what he intended, and it takes the focus in a completely opposite direction.
Sure. Yeah. That's a better way of putting it. But yeah, it's kind of scary because, like I said, like, I mean, I know when I watched it for the first time, you know, live or whatever, because I did watch it live, I was like, dang, that was an intense commercial, and powerful because he's a powerful speaker, right? And so, like, what he's saying, like, can resonate on a deep level.
Right.
But then you find out that, yeah, like, it's completely taken out of context, and you feel so deceived and wronged or whatever, and it's just like kind of a scary thing that, you know, these people can do, and these, like, companies can do, and, like, how many people, like, you know, will do or have done their homework on that, or like, because what are we, like, 60 years on from MLK since he died or something like that? So people that don't really know him, you know of him in a real kind of meta way, and this is just another meta way of knowing who MLK Jr. was, because, you know, we can buy, MLK says we can buy Dodge Ram trucks as long as we do it to help people.
Right. Well, and, you know, the interesting thing about that, of course, is that it did come from a sermon, and the concept has to do with Christ and how that relationship with Christ, and specifically like the understanding of God's love, creates for us the ability to be great, but then that greatness is a byproduct of service, right? Mm-hmm. So not only is it being, like, misused in the culture, but then it is also being used in a culture that completely denies, you know, that concept.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
I mean, of Christ. Like, mm-hmm. Christ-driven greatness.
Mm-hmm. Some of the comments, if you look at the video on YouTube, some of the comments are...
Excuse me.
I mean, yeah, I'd say most of the comments on this YouTube video, and there's, like, a ton of views on it. Over 2 million. It's encouraging, I think, that people, like, are on that bandwagon, you know, but, you know, I bet you there's an equal amount or maybe more that are, like, you know, haven't done the homework. Someone said, saying this ad is a little inappropriate is like saying the sun is a little warm. But, yeah, I think I don't know, I guess I just think it's interesting, and I think that we just need to be really discerning of everything, you know, and we should make sure that we don't just intake things, you know, for what they are, and, you know, do our research and do our homework and know what exactly he's talking about, like you're saying, about who we're supposed to be and who we can be because of Christ, and, you know, these kinds of things. But, yeah, I swear, Super Bowl always offers up these commercials like this, controversial commercials.
Yeah, the difficult thing is that what we're dealing with isn't just, I don't know, essentially false advertising. Like, a really cursory search on Google will, like, load up a bunch of, I'm even looking at one right now. This is on Business Insider, but it's a whole list of, like, false advertising scandals, like Kellogg said Rice Krispies could boost your immune system back in 2010. Or later, Kellogg said mini wheats could make you smarter in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole history of that kind of stuff in this country, and I mean, cigarettes used to be good for you.
Right. But now we're talking about something completely different. I mean, in that we're talking about sort of fact, you know, like, this is either wrong or it's right. But intent becomes increasingly difficult to measure as time moves away. Even on paper, I mean, that's why it's better to, you know, analogically, it's, like, better to communicate via like face-to-face communication than it is over text, because text doesn't carry you know, intonation and things like that, you know. So as we get farther and farther away from actual MLK, you know, it becomes more and more dangerous, because not only are we messing just with his words and chopping them up and fact checking, or not only do we run the risk of being wrong in what he said, but then we also run the risk of being wrong in the context of what he meant. And that's a whole different thing. And that messes with his character and ideology. And quite frankly, I mean, that should run really, that should be a really like prescient thing for Christians, because that's exactly the issue that we run into with Christ, right? Mm-hmm. Is that people take the words of Christ out of the context, not having read anything else that he said, or any of the context that he says anything in, or sometimes they forget the fact that he's, I don't know, Jewish, and, you know, and then they create their own reality.
Wasn't white.
Right. In order to sell, they create their own reality in order to sell whatever they want it to be.
Whatever version of God or Christ that suits their...
Whatever esoteric
agenda,
Ram truck they have to sell us.
The esoteric Ram truck.
Right. So, yeah, it's really scary. And then especially for Christians, is like we've been seeing this. But if I wasn't a Christian and I didn't believe in presuppositional truth, that there was a context that it was set in, that there was a specific meaning to it, that it wasn't just some sort of form of art that MLK put out there and whoever comes along can interpret it however they want to.
Mm-hmm. There was.
Because I believe that it was true and he said it and meant it a certain way. If I didn't believe any of that, then words really have no meaning. And that's scary. Like, that's really scary to think that, you know, nothing means anything, like anything that anybody says. And we can say that when we're not dealing with like high stress, like life issues. But, you know, when we're dealing with like the state of the nation, we're dealing with things where people are going to go to jail or be killed, or, you know, I mean, words need to mean something. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. What were we just talking about? Oh, I mean, shoot, I guess that's a good segue into our next topic. Words need to mean something, and I know we've touched on this before, but so Erykah Badu, who most of you probably don't know, was she like a soul singer?
Like R&B back, what, the 90s?
Yeah, she's not really active anymore. Maybe she's not active at all anymore. But
I don't know. She's like well respected in that genre. Yeah.
So Erykah Badu recently gave an interview to... who was it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Recently had an interview where she said something that raised some eyebrows. She basically, let's see if I can find what she said. I'm not an anti-Semitic person. I don't even know what anti-Semitic was before I was called it. I'm a humanist. I see good in everybody. I saw something good in Hitler. And so people heard that, and they're like, what?
And Bill Cosby.
Yeah, and she'd go on to say... And yeah, it says apparently stupefied Marchese, the guy that interviewed her, responded, "Come again?" And she says, "Yeah, I did. Hitler was a wonderful painter." And he said, "No, he wasn't." The interviewer said, "No, he wasn't. Even if he were," he said, "what does that have to do with whether there's any good in him?" So, yeah, going back to this concept of language and words meaning something, you know, she comes out the blocks, comes out the gates saying that she sees good in Hitler, and I guess the question is, like, is there merit in what she's saying? I think, obviously, you have to dig a little deeper than her initial comment, and I think you can understand what she's saying. You know, and I think we talked about this before with, maybe it was Kevin Spacey, when, like, all of his stuff first started surfacing, you know, like, yes, he's done heinous things, you know, and whatever, but look at, like, the art he's created, and, you know, and whatever, like his art form, and he's been seen as, like, one of the greats for decades, right? And so do we just we don't just label him good or whatever, you know, we have to be very, like, specific with our words. And so when she says, "I see the good in Hitler," I think people are right to be, like, red flagged, uncomfortable. But if you just dig a little deeper, and if you, I guess, are mature enough to be able to, I appreciate where she's coming from, then it's okay.
Yeah, it's a dynamic, complicated situation. You know? I mean,
we're talking about like maybe the worst, or certainly one of, maybe like top 3
Sure.
worst human beings in recorded history.
Sure.
You know, for like what he did and what he put into place, and the however many millions of people killed because of his like regime and so on and so forth. But so just putting any sort of positive adjective in the same sentence of his name is hard to stomach. But yeah, dynamic.
I mean, you have to look at always when somebody says anything that is volatile like that, you have to look at the context in which it was said. And she is pointing out that, you know, she sees the good in him. And I think that statement is not meant to imply that he is good ontologically speaking, I think. You know, she's not trying to say that his nature is good, I don't think.
She went on to say, and this muddied the waters even more, I think, for at least this interviewer and for a lot of people. But she went on to say, the article says, she went on a convoluted explanation of her views, which suggested that since Hitler supposedly had a terrible childhood, she could empathize with an abused child. I guess that's just the Pisces in me. And the interviewer said...
Oh, Pisces?
Pisces.
Yeah.
The interviewer said, going down the route of Hitler was a child once too is maybe turning the idea of empathy into an empty abstraction. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't see those things as being mutually exclusive to each other. I think people think that because somebody did something bad or had a string of doing something bad or was, by all intents and purposes, a bad person by like human standards or even moral standards in God's standard. It's like, that doesn't mean that person can't do good things.
Yeah, produce good things.
And I think that's what I take issue with. And I think that her explanation is a reaction to the reaction to Hitler. So for her, she's going the other way and she's saying, no, wait a second, like, he was an artist, you know, and a good artist, you know, and there's something to be said for that. So can you really say that he's absolutely and completely evil? And I think that's the point that she's making, and they're forcing her to back it up. And I don't think that you can, because that's not really what has to be proven. I think, excuse me, I think it has to go for, like, yeah, I think it has to go the other way, sort of ironically, because if you're coming at it from a non-presuppositional worldview that people are neither good nor evil, then when you want that presupposition to suggest that people are bad, or at least this one person is worse than every other person who lived, well, where do you get off saying that? Like, where do you get off making the claim that this guy is bad? Like, if your presupposition is that there is no good or bad, that there is no real morality, but somehow this guy breaks the mold of that and is capable of creating that, well, then you're ascribing to him a power in your own worldview that would make him akin to God, you know, or at least the devil. Like, he's some sort of like extra being that breaks the mold of humanity. And I like, to me, that's you inserting a presupposition, and I think that presupposition is false. I mean, I got into an argument back in Bible study a long time ago about Saddam Hussein before he was assassinated, right? I think he was assassinated, and
he was killed. Like, he was
by the U.S. Yeah. Oh yeah,
he was like, I can't remember if he was like hung or injected, but yeah, he was captured and he was killed.
Right. So they were trying to figure out, like, you know, where he was. He was hiding, right? Isn't that what it was? Man, I lived through this.
Yeah, he was hiding in like the foxhole thing.
Right.
So
we were having a debate in Bible study, and people were like, you know, I got a solution for you. It's 50 cents for a bullet. And it's just like,
I know some people that would say that.
You know, like, I can appreciate the idea and even the practicality of, even the practical necessity of Saddam Hussein at that point in time, dying because of what he was causing. I can appreciate the mechanism of that and why that would need to be, and I can feel morally sound about it. Like I wouldn't feel like that's destroying anything or going against my relationship with God or anything like that. But in terms of enjoying it, in terms of feeling
and that's the
righteous and justified,
that's the sense you get from a lot of people that would suggest that as a solution. Like,
right.
It would make them feel good, and like justice was
right.
Yeah,
and I'm not talking about
people have that view too.
And I'm not talking about the righteous indignation of seeing justice play out, right? I'm not talking about, like you feel like things are right again because this heinous murderer has been removed.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, this is right, and I feel good about that. I'm even okay with that. I have an issue with feeling like that person is somehow worse off than I am, and therefore their actions, even though they took them to a much further extent than I ever would, give me the right then to put myself in the place of God and judge their value as a human being as being less than mine. It's just not tenable. It's not the way that God sees people. Like, Hitler is a child of God.
Yeah, how does that end? Where does that end? If everyone is like sovereign or whatever, is that where that leads? Like, everyone,
if everybody is capable of making decisions of their life and death,
then it's just a free for all.
That's what it becomes. Anarchy.
Yeah,
it becomes chaos. It becomes how you feel in the moment and how much power you have.
Yeah.
For me, it was like sad when people were saying that, and I remember I was the only person in a room full of about 30.
I never heard you talk about this before, but yeah.
Yeah, I was, truth being told, I was crying because it made me so angry that people were so flippant with the life of Saddam Hussein. It's like, that's a person who's made in the image of God. It's like, yeah, he screwed up and he needs to be put down, but that's a sad thing.
Yeah, you should grieve over it because of how far they've fallen versus rejoice because of what's been done now.
Right. Rejoice because he somehow deserves to die more than you. Mm-hmm. I think I don't think it's intellectually honest when people are like that. And I think all you have to do, and this is, maybe more viral vigil territory, but all you have to do is step outside yourself and look at how easy it was for Hitler to infiltrate the areas that he was in, whether it was in German society where people, not unanimously, okay, but nonetheless, people went along with him. People, like going to Dachau, for instance, and people in the town, they were complicit in that. Mm-hmm. And anybody who thinks that's not true is lying to themselves. I mean, if you look at sort of the left-wing politics of things and how people are so angry about Donald Trump, and it's like, you realize Donald Trump was voted into office. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to understand, like, people are capable of doing, and I'm not saying Donald Trump is the standard for this, but people are capable of going in any direction that they're led. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have an issue with her saying that Hitler was a good artist and that we should be able to say that he produced something that was good.
I mean, touching back on MLK, and I think you have a lot more insight into him, because you've done more homework. You've been to the South and been to these different places, and your view of him has been shaped a lot more thoroughly than mine. Right. But isn't there like a big thing? I don't think it's a conspiracy. It's more than a conspiracy, or maybe it's just fact. I don't know. You tell me. But like, didn't MLK like have like a horrible like promiscuous relationships and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like completely unfaithful to like his wife and stuff?
And
I'm not comparing killing millions of Jews to sleeping with other women, okay? But you see what I mean? Like, he's seen as like one of the greatest, right? Human beings in history, and he did a lot, but he also like did bad things and like wrong things, ugly things,
right?
And so what's the difference? Like, I say what's the difference? Obviously, like I said, I'm not like comparing killing, so many people and that, but like a philosophical level, like what's the difference, you know?
I don't think there is one on a philosophical level. Like, if you're capable of breaking your own sense of morality, then the difference between you and Hitler is that Hitler wasn't...
Yeah, so why do people...
That Hitler was courageous
Why do
with his own
people,
sense of morality.
Look one way, but look the other way type thing on those things.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? It's confusing to me.
I don't know. I think because they refuse to see God as God. And so their minds become dark and confused, and they suppress the truth that they started out knowing. Yeah. And further, I just said that if you do that, then the difference between you and Hitler is that Hitler is courageous and you're not. That is not me saying that I think that Hitler is courageous. What I'm saying is that Hitler went full bore into what he believed.
Yeah.
And in that vein, when you...
He at least owned...
Yeah.
He at least owned what he believed, even though it was wrong.
Yeah, it was completely wrong.
Like deceiving yourself or not being intellectually honest with yourself.
Right,
Like you
completely wrong, completely inappropriate. And, you know, he deserved what he got, but not because he was less than human. Mm-hmm. You know, it's because actions have consequences. And, you know, he wronged many people, and those consequences pile up and are still piling up. And people are still, you know, feeling the weight of it. But... to me, there's not much of a philosophical difference between you and him when, except that he was willing to follow through. If you are a hypocrite, if you say this is who I am, but then you choose not to follow through with who you are, yeah, maybe you're not, you know, maybe you're not completely following through the way that he did, and so the consequences aren't as huge, and so people don't ever see
It's just so
how terrible you can go. But humanity's a you know, a beast.
Yeah.
Like, humanity can go very, very deep. I mean, look at all these places in history, and even now where we see evidence of that. I mean, look at slavery. Like, look at what we can do to each other. To think that Hitler was unique. No, what was unique about Hitler was that he was willing to follow through.
Yeah, it's just so confusing to me what people like are willing to ignore or something, you know? And it's so like subjective, and yeah, it just confuses me. It really does. Yeah.
And I want to be clear, I don't think that he should have
Like
followed.
how you can live, like how you, that's just a chaotic lifestyle.
Right.
It's just confusing. Like,
Well, what it does is it puts you in a place of cognitive dissonance.
yep.
So you're always living in the gap of
Fact value splits.
right of your fact
simpler
value
things.
split. Yeah, and in doing so, you live a lifestyle that's really hard and difficult and ineffectual.
You can't maintain it. You just you will fail yourself. Like, and then what do? Like, what does it lead you then? Like when you realize that, probably to depression or something. I don't know.
Pastor Monty, otherwise known as Chuck Brown, is commenting right now. He says Hitler was demonically influenced. Some might say possessed. I don't know if he was possessed, but he was definitely demonically influenced. I mean, he carried the traits of demonic influence, you know, selfish ambition and dissension and the various things that are found in the book of James, chapter 3, if anybody wants to know. But yeah, I want to make it very clear.
In the Bible.
Yeah, in the Bible. I do not admire Hitler's anything.
Yeah, sure.
I just don't. I don't think that anybody has the right, based on their own merit, to give him. I don't know, to speak bad about him. Based on their own merit,
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I think based on the Christian standard,
Yes.
we have a right to speak bad about him. But if what you think is that somehow you are just, you know, space dust that evolved into a body that's mostly water,
Why not kill millions of Jews then?
if you want to,
Yeah. Why
You
not
know?
do anything? Yeah. You constantly talk about your motives if you didn't have God.
yes,
You call yourself, or you might be. You say you're a sociopath? You would be.
I think I would be a
You have those
sociopath.
tendencies.
I think that I would be a sociopath. And I know in discussion with some people, that's hard for them to like understand. But
Yeah.
you know,
Strange when you tell like new people that because like maybe they don't know exactly what you mean even after you explain it. That's just such a that's such a red flag thing to say. I would be a sociopath. What? We got some feedback. People don't like what we're saying.
No, actually, LU is sending me a private message telling me that there's it's popping or something. There's static, and I'm looking at it redlining. Let's see if you can turn it down a little bit.
The gain?
Yeah, turn down the gain a bit. So drop it down quite a bit.
On
actually.
whose?
Both.
This is when people have a hard time hearing it on the playback. Testing, testing, test. Quick test. Mid-podcast.
Yeah. Mid-podcast. So here, okay, I'm going to adjust it right here on the feed and see what we can do with it. Hold on a second.
All right. But yeah, I mean, without a standard that's bigger than yourself, like Josh was saying, like, it's just chaos.
You want to turn that gain back up a little bit? Sorry about that.
And how do you maintain that? You can't maintain that.
How's that? Anybody who's out there listening? Is that better?
We're a humble podcast of two, and we produce on the fly.
That's right. I don't see it redlining anymore, so I'm hopeful that that's better.
All right.
So we'll keep going. You guys can let us know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we killed it.
No pun intended, of course.
Ooh.
Yeah. What I'm gonna go ahead and agree with this with Erica. Oh, I hear a much better.
We're on a first name basis. You agree with Erica in that?
Oh, I agree with Miss Badu.
Miss Badu.
I agree with Miss Badu about the idea that Hitler's artwork.
See, I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't. He was a good painter. Like,
well, he
would he be seen as like a respectable painter? I don't know that.
No. In fact, he flunked out of art school, and some people
there you go. Maybe
some people credit that as being sort of the start of his anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I think I've heard that.
But with that said, his graphic design sensibility is
the way he branded
is one of the reasons, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard you.
Why his movement was had such a mind share.
Yeah,
and there is something to be said. And he accosted different things, like the swastika is a backwards Eastern symbol, but he had just sort of a really stark understanding of artwork, and there's something to be said for his talent there. So I will agree with her in that. And I don't think that because he was a terrible person who deserved to die for what he did, I don't think that means that he wasn't a good artist. And I think that people who say that are people who are irresponsible and hypocritical. I don't think they would ever want to be judged by that standard.
Yeah. And again, just to reiterate, in case there's any confusion, Josh isn't saying he deserved to die because that's what Josh believes in his own personal,
Right. In fact, the opposite. If it were based on that, I would say not that he doesn't deserve to die, but that I would deserve to die just as much as him, and that we would all deserve to die.
Okay. Let's take a quick break. We doing something different.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing something different this time. And we got other stuff in the works, too, so we're excited about just the progression of the podcast in general.
Right.
Instead of just basic trivia, because I suck at it. I'm really bad at trivia, apparently. I've lost every single episode for 8 episodes straight.
That you have.
I've gotten some questions right along the way, but I've been told I suck at trivia, and maybe since it's your podcast or, you're the host of it, why don't you come up with something that you're good at? Because it's like you enjoy like sabotaging yourself, or like, what do they call that? Like self-defamation or something like that. You enjoy like just beating yourself down in the way that you suck at trivia.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's a
masochism. No, anyway, go on.
Yeah, whatever. So we have a different kind of game, trivia even. And so it's, for lack of a better word, clip trivia. Trivia. So since it's like, Oscar season, we're 2 weeks away or so, maybe 3 weeks away, we have created a clip trivia game where we've literally scoured the IMDb list of every Best Picture nominee ever. in Oscar history, and we've queued up some clips from their respective trailers. And so the game is, play the quick trailer of 3 to 8 seconds, whatever it may be, something short snippet, and we're supposed to guess what it is.
Yeah, and y'all can guess along too, those of you who are watching.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with a name for our game at some point.
And we got some other games in the process in the works too, which we're excited about, you know, as I said. But so we don't have a great streamlined way of doing it, so I hope you can hear it, is what I'll say. I think you can. We tested it. But so I guess Josh, you can go first. We have about four clips each. Little clip trivia. I mean, you've heard kind of this kind of thing on like radios and stuff before, so it's not original. We're not claiming it, but it's fun. So,
are we playing our intro music at least?
You mean
time to play the game?
Are you talking about?
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
All right.
And Josh's all-time favorite laugh. All right, so Josh,
here we go.
You can go.
I'm playing this off my phone because Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Best Picture nominee from years.
Mr. Woodruff, what is going on?
People are dying.
You're nothing more than a common drug dealer.
Oh, I know this one. Dallas Buyers Club.
Very good. Dallas Buyers Club. You
Matthew
got it.
McConaughey. All right.
Well, I queue up the next one.
Yep, do that. So Josh kind of got a sneak peek this one because this is one of our sample ones, but nevertheless. You ready?
Yes.
All right, here it goes.
You had a conversation with God, huh? What did God say?
I heard you playing that one earlier. I have no idea what that is.
All right, so you know who it is.
No.
He's got a distinct voice.
Okay, play it again.
All right.
You had a conversation with God, huh? What did God say?
You don't recognize that guy's voice?
I don't.
Really?
I don't. You had a conversation.
Beautiful music.
I have no idea what this is.
This used to be. It's one of my favorite movies, I'd say. I haven't seen it in so many years, but I think it made me cry when I first saw it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Crash?
Oh, Crash. Yeah, I've seen it once.
Yeah, not impressed.
I mean, it was a good movie. But it's like, it's not like a movie that I could like keep watching.
Well.
So who was talking?
Ludacris.
Okay, it did sound like Luda.
You got your next one queued up, so...
I was trying to. Hold on a second.
What, we're at 1-0. Adam's winning, so it looks like we found our game.
We found one where Adam will win. Okay, here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
I'll turn this up. Okay, here we go.
Fractured foot.
I'm gonna shoot him anyway. I'll save you the bullet.
That was it.
Can you play it again?
Oh, man.
Come on, I play it for you.
All right. I'll give you a little bit more of a lead-in.
All right.
I'll take him.
Got a fractured foot.
I'm gonna shoot him anyway. I'll save you the bullet.
Fractured foot. Shoot him, save you the bullet. I can't recognize any of the voices.
One more?
Yeah, well, hit me one more.
I'll take him.
Got a fractured foot.
I'm gonna shoot him anyway. I'll save you the bullet.
Oh, it's got a fractured foot. So it's an animal.
It could be. Oh, don't look at the thread because somebody's got it.
It's got a fractured foot. It's not a dog.
LU, you are absolutely right.
Really?
Yeah, he's right. Don't look down.
I don't have the thread loaded up.
Oh, okay.
All right, give me it. Who? Hey, first of all, who's talking?
I can't remember the actor's name.
Oh, okay. Who is it? Maybe I can tell you. Or tell what the movie is. What?
It's Seabiscuit. Good job, LU.
Chris Cooper, maybe?
Yeah, you're right. It is Chris Cooper, yeah.
I'm pretty good with names.
I'm going to give you a big like.
So, LU likes horse movies. All-time favorite horse movie of the 3 that there have ever been. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You sure you're not too distracted? I know it's distracting when you're trying to load up your next one. I'll let you 2 seconds.
No, dude, it's fine.
All right. I got it ready.
Okay.
Is as if God created the devil and gave him.
Again.
Sound.
Again.
Yeah.
It is as if God created the devil.
I mean, based on the music, I'd say it's Jaws.
Oh, you got it.
It is Jaws.
Gave him Jaws.
It is as if God created the devil and gave him. So, good job, Josh.
And I can't deny the fact that you like me. Right
Good job,
now.
Sally.
Okay.
So where are we at? 2-1, but I'm a question up, so we'll see.
You are. Okay, let me cue this up. So, okay, 95 seconds into it. Yeah, I wish there was a better way to do this.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's okay.
Wait, that doesn't make sense. 95. Oh, 9 seconds. My bad. Okay, hold on.
I'm giving you 10-second clip on my next one.
Here we go. I got a long one, too, at the end.
All right.
Here we go.
Are you saying that I killed my wife? Are you saying that I crushed her skull and that I shot her?
Are you saying that I definitely don't need that again. It's distinct enough.
Okay.
That I killed my wife, that I crushed her. It's an old movie. I can tell by the audio.
All right, listen to the voice. See if you got the voice.
All right.
Okay. Famous voice.
Come on, LU.
Are you saying that I killed my wife? Are you saying that I crushed her skull and that I shot her?
That voice is on the tip of my tongue.
It's a very famous voice. It's about to get even.
I don't know. I give up.
It's The Fugitive, and that
Harrison
voice belongs
Ford.
to Harrison Ford.
I was thinking this. I thought it was like I knew it wasn't a Best Picture nominee, but my first guess was What Lies Beneath, which is another Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
movie.
with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah,
White Gold.
yeah. But so I was on the right track. Dang.
Now we're even.
What was the
again.
movie again?
The Fugitive.
That's an older movie, right? 90s or something.
It's a great movie, and there's a scene I was looking for it, but it wasn't in the trailer I picked, where Harrison Ford, where he's in like this like tunnel, right? And he's like standing in the top of the ravine, and he's in this tunnel, and Tommy Lee Jones chases him to the tunnel, and Harrison Ford turns around at the end of the tunnel, and he's like, "I didn't kill my wife."
Oh yeah.
And Tommy Lee Jones is like, "I don't care." And then he turns around and jumps off the thing.
All right, I said before it's 2-1, but actually it's 1-1.
Okay.
We've both gotten one right. All right, for your third one.
Okay.
Your penultimate one. Oh shit! Don't let you look at the video.
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship, but it is not this day.
That sounds like Lord of the Rings.
You want it again?
Sure.
Day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship, but it is not this day.
Is it Return of the King? Yes.
I'm nodding my head. Yes.
Yes.
That's too epic of a part for me to not want to do that as a trailer. It is Return of the King, Aragorn giving his final speech.
Yes.
So now it's 2-1.
Okay.
So I have to get this final one. You said this is a long one?
Yeah.
That was my longest one.
Yep, it is.
All right, I'll queue up my last one. You give me your last one. Ready for the final round. Okay. If you were going to say just Lord of the Rings but couldn't name it, I would allow that to be like, if it came down to a tiebreaker, you would win off of it. But all right, hit me.
Okay. Oh, hold on. It's doing one of those things on YouTube where it's like, yeah.
Ads?
Oh, yeah, that's what they're called, ads. Hold on. Hold on. Here we go. Okay.
Hit me.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, volume all the way up. Here we go. And here we go.
Final
We
one.
have a sacred duty to cure the sick, not care for circus animals. I am not an elephant! I am not an animal!
What a dramatic scene without even seeing the video.
It's a great movie and a great scene.
It's a black and white movie.
It is a black and white movie, but it's not black and white because it's super old. It's black and white by artistic design.
I am not an animal. The Elephant Man?
Good. Good call. You got it.
2-2.
2-2.
What do we do for a freaking tiebreaker?
Was that it?
No, you have one more.
No, that was it. That was my last one.
I have one more for you.
Oh,
you
no.
could win it with this one.
Good job, Elio. You got to ring in earlier, though.
Did he say Elephant Man?
He said Elephant Man and Lord of the Rings, Return of the
Wow,
King.
he's got 3. He's pretty
Yeah.
good. Good job, Elio. All right, final one.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, come on. I had it buffered.
I'm willing to meet my...
Whoa. Sorry.
This is our two-man show. We need a producer.
I'm willing to meet my creator and ask for every shot that I took.
One more time for you.
Okay.
I'm willing to meet my creator and ask for every shot that I took.
It's a military movie
Fantastic movie.
with... Okay. It's a military movie. Okay.
Don't look at the thread.
I'm not looking down. Okay. It's a military movie, and I can't remember the name of any of those military movies. So
Not good enough.
no. Hold on. Gosh. Okay. Something. It's not Full Metal Jacket. I guess I'll take the loss. What is it?
It's a tie. You take the tie.
I take the tie. What is it?
All right, so in honor of the train wreck, pun intended, movie that I saw last night, which was 1517 to Paris.
Which is so sad to hear.
It is sad
Eastwood.
because it's a true story, and so you hate to call it a train wreck. I saw 1517 to Paris last night. It was so bad. See it at your own discretion or at your own whatever. But chose a better movie, American Sniper.
Okay, American Sniper. Yeah.
Bradley Cooper.
I think that's
Chris
the
Kyle.
movie. That's the movie I was thinking, but then I know that you like that other movie. But then I kept trying to think. It doesn't
What
sound
other
like
movie?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
What other movie?
That movie. I swear you like that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, where he's in
military?
Is it Jarhead? No.
Jarhead's a great movie.
Yeah.
Black
maybe.
Hawk Down.
No, not Black Hawk Down.
I-
Jacket is in the name. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know, but we tied.
A 2-2 tie.
You came that much closer to beating me.
Looks like I found my game.
Looks like you found your game.
I'll be honest, I pulled Elephant Man out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Like, I was ready to just throw it in. And
Nice.
then... Yeah.
Nice.
Who did that movie?
Who directed it? Oh, man, I don't remember.
It's someone big. Whatever. We've spent enough time on this.
Yeah, we have.
That was fun.
Yeah.
If not as smooth as we would
Especially
have
now that
liked.
the sound is fixed.
Yeah, that was cool. Thanks, LU, for participating wherever in the world you come from or you're broadcasting from.
I'm pretty sure he's from Mexico.
Yes. Well, we like our Mexican viewers, and we support them if they support us. So thank you, Mexico and the Mexican people.
Yes.
All right. Couple topics left, and they sort of bleed into each other. So let's see which one first. Yeah. So the Uma Thurman, Quentin Tarantino.
Right.
So for those of you that have been tracking that, Uma Thurman like finally gave her grand reveal or speech. She was sitting on it for a while until like she was comfortable or till the time was ready to disclose, her experiences
with Weinstein
and apparently Quentin Tarantino. But it's kind of confusing. Is she like saying bad things? She's just saying.
Apparently.
All right, so obviously she was talking about her experiences with Weinstein, and they're not good. They're more of, not to downplay it or to belittle it, but more of what you've been hearing. And we don't want to, we're not trying to harp on that. We've harped on that enough. But she was saying, she was describing experiences she had on set with Tarantino and the links at which he went to like be authentic, right?
Sort of. She actually wasn't, well, unless you're talking about the driving. Are you talking about the driving?
I'm talking about multiple things. That's one of them.
Okay, yeah. For the driving, that's true.
Okay, so she, basically was saying, okay, so for those of you that don't know, like when she was filming Kill Bill, there's a scene.
Is the last scene they shot. They were done with everything else.
Yeah, so she's driving in a car down a road, and it's, it's a close-up of her face when she's driving. If you've seen the movie, it's in black and white, I think. And she was instructed to drive at this speed in order to capture like the wind in her hair and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Whoops.
But as she was driving down, but they had to change something last minute, and Uma Thurman is kind of like afraid of driving.
Something like that.
Yeah, she doesn't like to drive, and they had to change something last minute, so she ended up going down the other way instead of the way that they were going to go, because it's a straight road. And so the way that they were going to go was straight, but for some reason on the other side, if you were going the other way, it had like a little S curve.
Yeah.
And
so she crashes into a tree and now supposedly has like lifelong
issues with her
injuries or complications with her whatever body parts. And then there's other stuff too, like if you remember Kill Bill, it's a big favorite of yours, but when she's like dead or half dead, after she's all shot up, the police, the sheriff.
I don't remember who does it.
Well, who does it to the point is actually Quentin Tarantino himself.
Right. No, I think it was Michael Madsen's character who did it.
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's actually Quentin Tarantino that does it, though.
The director does it.
Yeah, like, you don't see it because it's off screen, but he wanted it to be him because he didn't want it to be someone else who would keep messing up the scene. And, in the movie, it's gross in the movie, right? And it's not something that's seen as positive by any means, but now it's like been brought to light in just it's just one thing amongst many that's like women are mistreated in the industry or whatever. So like she was spit on, she was choked with a real chain. Her recommendation in order to like capture a look,
to actually be suffocated.
Yeah, and then the car thing, even though she like was advocating for herself that she's uncomfortable with that, but he was kind of dickish apparently, and he admits it about it and like didn't want to hear it, just do the freaking scene type thing.
Right.
And he cops to that and says that it's one of his biggest regrets or whatever. But the question, and I don't know where we want to go with this exactly, but the question is just like, I don't know, is it okay? Like for the sake of the art, right?
Right.
And, the links at which people, and it happens to men and women. And I was just listening to a podcast. It's relevant because of women and, the social climate with that. And so now it's like a hot button.
Right.
But I was just listening to a podcast yesterday with another actor, and he was describing like multiple incidents, and he's had like a 30-year career in the industry, and he's been like punched in the face and stuff for the sake of the scene and authenticity, and he described it as like that's just what you do, like as an actor
right,
like you want to also get the most what do you call that, realistic or whatever,
right? It's part of your craft,
right? And so you're willing to like sacrifice and put your body through things in order to like make it the most real product you can. But like I said, now it's a super hot issue because of the women being mistreated in the industry in general, like sexually mistreated, and now
Right,
this
there's
is
a
just another
perception
thing.
that's being given about it, yeah.
And so, I don't know. Where do we want to go with that, I guess?
Well, I guess for me, so, you know, I read the breakdown on Kill Bill when Uma Thurman first released it, and I gotta be honest, that was a little bit sad for me because I feel like it tarnished, to some degree, the reputation of Kill Bill.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is difficult for me because I think that Kill Bill is a masterpiece, and I love it. 1 and 2 together, it's like easily, it's a masterpiece. But with that said, then I read Quentin Tarantino's response to it, and it was a little bit disheartening. Both the comments that came after his response, and then also the apparent misrepresentation that had taken place. Because, like, for instance, one of the things that Quentin notes, we're on first terms again.
Right, Erica and Quentin.
Yeah, one of the things that Q notes,
Mr. Tarantino,
is that was that Uma Thurman wasn't quoted on those things. Like, if you read the interview that was done, is it Dowd? I can't remember who did the interview.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the interview that was done, if you read it, when she talks about the fact that Uma Thurman was spit on or choked by the director, it's not in quotes because Uma Thurman didn't talk with her about it.
The journalist
It's prose.
spinning it.
Right, it's prose. Like, she's creating a narrative. And
another one of those things, man. Like, what can you believe? You know, like, what is the actual truth of the
right? So she's created a narrative, and Quentin said that, and this has been confirmed since, but he said that he was there with Uma when it was like the Sunday before it was released, and then he like went and had breakfast with her the day after it was released or something like that, because they like worked.
Interesting.
They worked together
because she still respects him.
They worked together because with its release came like the footage of the car crash.
Okay.
They worked together to go into the studio and find the actual footage of the car crash. So Quentin like pulled strings on his end to get her the footage, and they released this, and she did this interview. And in the interview, we have a comment down here that just popped up. Oh, from Chuck Brown. Hollywood is suffering from role confusion. And am I me or am I playing someone?
Is it me? Oh.
But
that'll bleed into the next topic, Chuck.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so he was a part of this whole interview,
releasing all the information,
all of it, and he said, yeah, it put a damper on their relationship. The whole car thing put a damper on their relationship because he didn't go through the proper channels. He didn't think it was a big deal, but he wasn't involved in the cover-up that took place because there was an apparent cover-up that took place, and she's surmising that it was a Weinstein cover-up because
I didn't know all that
because of the stuff that had gone on between them. So she was surmising that it was a Weinstein cover-up that took place, and then this whole thing about him choking her and stuff, that's something that was added for prose later. But yeah, when you go back and you look at it, I think that what he says is true. You know, like basically what he said is, how could anybody else spit on her?
How could he be okay as the director
Right.
of the film allowing that to happen?
Right. It's part of the script. It's a script that she had read, that she was a part of, that she knew about.
And by the way, these people have like contracts, you know, like
Right.
they agree to this, and this.
Right. It's part of the script that she read, she knew about, she was comfortable with it, she wanted to do it right, and if it had been somebody else, it would be, how could he have somebody else do that to her? They would be completely uncomfortable. What do you get? A professional spitter?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to have the cameraman or the grip or somebody else spit on her. So the other thing is, because it was a first-person shot, he knew exactly where he wanted that spit to go. And so as the director, he can sort of direct his spit like at the same time.
Versus tell someone,
right,
I kind of want you to spit.
Right. And
it's
then
kind of gross to talk about.
And he said that he would give her 3 takes, and if she wasn't okay with it, then they wouldn't do a 4th. But I think they did 4 takes, and she was okay with it, you know, getting it to what they wanted it to be. And then the same thing you alluded to with the chain, he didn't actually want to choke her, but
she recommended it.
She said it wasn't real enough, and so she wanted to go into the suffocation mode that you get in your eyes.
Yeah.
And so this is my problem, is that that story, which was crafted by Uma Thurman and Quentin Tarantino, has now been taken by the media and used to for its own agenda.
And like we've talked about before, once that's published, damage is done.
Yeah.
Like it.
I mean, fortunately for Tarantino, he's somewhat of a bad boy in that regard. Like, he's known for not caring, but like, yeah, damage is done.
It's crazy. It's just instant and it's everywhere.
Yeah, and some of the comments that people say about.
And now it's one of these things though too, like if you're a man and you're commenting on it, you're just part of the problem. You know? Like, you can't comment on it. Shut up.
Yeah.
It's not your time.
Right.
You know? And so, like, where do you go from there? Like, if the conversation is shut down before it even begins, then, like, what are they trying to accomplish? I don't know.
Right.
It's just another one of those things. But.
And I just want to say, Uma Thurman went on record as saying that she was not attacking Quentin Tarantino.
She specifically said, like,
Yeah.
I want it to be, interesting.
Yeah. I never intended to attack Quentin, I think is what she said.
To Chuck Brown's comment about Hollywood having a identity crisis, is that what he said?
Yeah. Well, role confusion.
Am I me or am I the character I'm playing?
Yeah.
Is that what he said? Yeah. That's an interesting segue because James Franco was snubbed, if you believe that. Snubbed. I do. I think he was snubbed. Of a Oscar nomination for that.
Playing Tommy Wiseau.
For The Disaster Artist,
who apparently wants to play the Joker. Have you heard about that?
Tommy Wiseau
Wiseau wants to play the Joker in the Scorsese movie.
The origin Joker.
That was going to be DiCaprio, but now is Joaquin Phoenix.
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
That's official?
It's not official, but he wants to play the Joker.
Interesting. We'll talk about that one later.
Right. I kind of just want to see it.
Yeah.
To see it.
That guy he's a character. But, the question is, so he's being snubbed amidst allegations, which they're still just allegations as far as I know up to this point. He's been completely snubbed and shunned even by that community, which... I mean, what is that called when the snake eats its tail?
Ouroboros.
That's what Hollywood is.
Yeah, Ouroboros.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
But he's being shunned because of these different things. But the question, and like Chuck just asked or suggested, is like, is that right? Is that right to do that to someone in a specific event that's held yearly to honor someone's art or whatever, actors and directors and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Like, does that belong there? Is that the time and place for that? And should he be facing those consequences? I don't believe so. I don't agree with it. I think that, first of all, I think it's hypocritical. And like I said, the Ouroboros or whatever. So not many years ago, recently, they were applauding Roman Polanski, right? For the pianist.
Roman Polanski, yep.
And what's the deal with Roman Polanski? He raped a young girl, was found guilty of that or something.
He can't come back.
But they were willing to whatever that. Then it's just another one of those things like we were just talking about today. Why do we turn our cheeks on it this time and for this person and this reason, but now no, and it's just a mess. That whole industry is a gosh damn mess, and it's confusing and hypocritical, and I sort of feel sad for James Franco. I mean, obviously, if those things are true, that sucks, and it's not right, it's not good, but up till now, it's just allegations, and this whole guilty till proven innocent switch that we have in our society is unfortunate and is anti what this whole country is founded on, right? And I think that's wrong to put that in that space, because it's not like James Franco is being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize here. You know,
Right. Although knowing him, maybe one day he's going to
knowing his
try and make-
ambitions.
yeah,
or
trying to
whatever.
make that
He's like
happen.
a college professor or something at certain times of the year.
Yeah, Roman Polanski. Yeah, I mean that's sort of a good example of. I mean that's his stuff is heinous. I mean, I just pulled him up really.
His whole
quickly.
life is crazy because
His movies are jacked
his
up.
like
too.
wife was killed by not him, not the guy himself.
Manson's-
Yeah, Hinchman, whatever. you want.
Sharon Tate.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, one of Manson's people.
So like that's crazy, and then like he's found guilty of this, and it's like this guy's life is crazy.
It was
Anyways.
it was 1977. It was a 13-year-old named Samantha Grimer, and he was found guilty of all charges, accepted a plea bargain, and then on the day that he was supposed to be sentenced, or right around that time, he fled to France, and he's been there.
And then 30 years later,
And he still makes movies.
And 30 years later, made The Pianist, and won a Best Director Oscar, and got a standing ovation.
Right.
A standing ovation.
Right.
You know? But now...
Well, and actors will go over there specifically
To
to
work
be
with
in
him?
his movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what the hell? Like, what is that?
Right.
It's confusing. And it's... Man.
Yeah, it's like what you said. It's hypocritical.
They just turn on them. They turn
Although,
on each other.
I mean, I hope that if they're going to be consistent, they be consistent in that way. I hope it extends back to Roman Polanski. I know that there's some stuff going on with Woody Allen.
Yeah.
That it seems to be extending back to Woody Allen. And
I wonder
finally
if they would
people are,
like revoke his, or something like that.
like pull his
best
Oscars,
like,
or
strike
whatever.
it from the records or something.
I wonder how far back that goes if they were to do that. You know, like to who, like the different people that they shouldn't have given something to, but they did. And
it's just, it's the common undercut of this whole thing, right? Is like people being dynamic people, right? Like
Right.
being able to create and do good things, but also...
So it goes back to that question, should the art be separated from the artist? And so we take a look at Erykah Badu and we look at her statement about Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
So should Hitler's art, if he submitted it to an art contest, knowing that he was Hitler, should he be
allowed to compete?
Yeah, would he be allowed to compete in that competition? That's an interesting question. I'm going to go with biblically no, he shouldn't be.
What do you mean by that? Or how do you mean by that?
Well, God cares about the character of things. He cares less about what the person does and more about the character, and says that the character is what creates what somebody, ultimately does. So if somebody goes and if you look into the heart of somebody and they show themselves to be this type of person, then I don't think that he would let them compete in that competition. I don't think that he would say, hey, that's bad art. I think he would say, you're not qualified to represent this award. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So maybe that's, maybe Franco shouldn't be qualified to represent the what's it called? Shouldn't be qualified to represent the Oscars. But with that said, if that's the case, like, they have to be consistent.
Yeah, is that even a standard that can be upheld?
Right.
And what does it become at that point?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, people are dynamic.
Yeah. It's difficult, and I mean, I know, like, look at the Wonder Woman thing. I think we talked about that, where it's like they're sort of cherry picking directors and who they're going to producers based upon, what their people allege about them. So like I wonder, like, when film studios are going to be like, well, we're not going to work with this director simply because they wouldn't be qualified to get us this award.
Of like this, so like these algorithms that are like in social media and stuff. So you like one thing, and now your whole page or whatever is just inundated with that.
Yeah.
And so like you're like put in this box.
Right.
This is Adam Kunkel, or this is Josh McGarry. This is what they like, and so this is what we're gonna feed them.
Right.
Like, is that what that becomes?
Yeah.
Like what they're asking for.
It's kind of the Will and Grace. What was it? The Will and Grace TiVo. Have you ever heard that bit?
Believe it or not, I'm not a huge Will and Grace fan.
Oh, really? No, there was an old bit with the TiVo. You remember the TiVo?
I mean, I know
the
TiVo
DVR.
is, yeah.
So there was an old bit where I can't remember who the comedian was, but he was just talking about how he was like in the middle of an episode of Will and Grace. It had like come on, and it's Patton Oswalt. I think it was Patton Oswalt.
Okay.
And he was talking about how he's in the middle. He was like doing something else. Will and Grace came on. He thought, oh, that's interesting, and so he hit the record button to watch the one episode. And now his TiVo like records only Will and Grace and like countercultural things because it thinks that's the only thing about him that he likes. Yeah.
That is similar.
It's kind of like that. I have to look up that bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, that about sums it up. Did you want to talk about the Shack?
I do think we need to talk about the Shack.
We can make it quick-ish. Can we make it quickish?
Yeah, we can make it quickish.
So we watched The Shack recently, which was a movie that came out like maybe last year, maybe the year before that.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly like, hot news or something.
Right.
Hot movie.
But no, but it's something that
for some reason, one of our friends...
It's in the Christian
one of our
ethos.
friends' mom, one of our friends' mom watched it and was like, you have to watch this. It's such a beautiful movie and yada, yada, yada. And it was a big book, back in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And Christian people were all about it, unfortunately. But...
Oh, yeah. Spoiler.
So we watched it, and of course we watched it, with eyes open and ears open type thing. And
right. We watched it with our pastor brains on.
If I'm being honest, like, at first viewing or whatever, like, there was a couple things that were like, I don't know about that,
Yeah.
But overall, like, my initial perception of it was like, okay, first of all, I thought it was boring. Like, as a movie, it was boring.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, being a critic, like a Christian critic of it, I thought that it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be.
I think that it wasn't as bad as we were expecting it to be, for sure.
Right. That's a good way of putting it. But there were things that, man, I wish we had that article on Q, because there's some good points in it. But there were things that were like, and then, like, artistic decisions that were made that were like, but you like they're artistic decisions, so like how much can you like really lambaste them? But what was some of the main ones? Like there was like they took away God's sovereignty, or implied that God didn't have complete sovereignty. So there was that. Mm-hmm. There was they removed the concept that God like punishes sin, right?
Right. Sin and just kind of that's not there.
Yeah. And it's a movie that's like love and positive,
right.
like without the consequence side of living.
Right.
And
right. It felt very cheerleader for the emergent church.
Yeah, sure. And then what else was there? There was one more big one. Do you remember?
There was something about the way that the Holy Spirit and there was something about the way the Trinity interacted with each other, not the least of which being that God the Father was portrayed mostly as a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that theologically I would take issue with, but
it's not like a theological.
It's not a treatise, right?
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Even if that's the case,
it's analogical. It's like trying to teach you about God by giving you an example. Nobody thinks that it's trying to give you a theological treatise. So it's like, they gave that line that I didn't think you could handle a man right now. So, and like there's a part of me that says, okay, like, God gives us what we need in the moment, and he comes to the Israelites as, a pillar of fire, and he comes as a cloud and all that sort of stuff. But then also God's role as Father is it's an infinite role. It's part of the Trinity. So
wasn't there something weird when he was like having a conversation about like with wisdom, with the personification, the character Wisdom? Was there something weird there?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing was weird.
Like that whole interaction.
Yeah, the whole interaction was weird.
Yeah.
there was just a real sense that God is sort of waiting for man to evolve to a point of being able to have meaningful relationship with him. And God just wants people to evolve that way. And as long as those people, put their faith in God to like evolve that way, then everything will be fine. But so there's a lot of like sort of pandering to reason and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But the truth of the matter is that's not what the Bible represents about who God is. Like, and it's not what the Bible represents about who man is. And if that is God, here's, my question to the author of The Shack. So feel free to call us. I'm
sure
not that you will, but
I'm sure they will.
My question to the author of The Shack is, if that is who God is, if God is a God who just simply wants, sort of the best for us no matter what, and he's sort of this like enabling sort of parent, more of a
helicopter.
But more of a psychiatrist, like a counselor. My question is, why did Jesus have to die? This is what I don't get, because nowhere in The Shack do we see a representation of the crucifixion except in the hands of God the Father, who's played by a woman. Bears the marks of the crucifix or of the crucifixion in her hands. That's it. Nowhere do we see sort of a need for that, because if there's no sin in the world, then the world's not so bad. It's just people messing up, Then why did Christ die on the cross for our sins?
And that's where this movie, for those of you that are still here, that's where it fell like massively short. It failed to explain why Jesus in what it was presenting in its movie and probably its book. I don't know. I heard the book is worse. Did you have?
Yeah. That's
like way more controversial.
It's kind of how I felt about the Da Vinci Code. It's like
that the book is worse.
Well, I know it was.
Did you read the Da Vinci?
Yeah, the Da Vinci Code's a great book. It's a great piece of fiction. It's trash, but it's a great piece of fiction in terms of its prose. It's narrative style, and I remember talking to some Roman Catholics who were protesting outside of our home theater and telling them that they had to go protest on the street. And because, they couldn't stand on our parking lot as they were protesting, and none of them had read the book. And I remember talking with them about it, and I was like, well, we'll see what the movie's actually like. Yeah, the movie wasn't nearly as blasphemous as the book. It was way watered down, and that appears to be what The Shack is like. It's very watered down.
Yeah, so to sum it up, don't go into it expecting your whole Christian worldview to be shaped.
If you do, then you should probably go back and read the Bible,
just the Bible.
That's a problem if that movie shapes your Christian worldview.
God, yeah, that is a problem.
That's a real problem.
But yeah, like I said, it was not breaking news, but relevant for our podcast and what we're talking about here. So felt like we should talk about it because it's relevant for us and what we just watched it. So yeah, I don't know.
We got a comment. Somebody wants to. Okay, Lucy Brown says, Let me read Chuck Brown's statement. It says, Hollywood is a cesspool of confusion.
Yeah, I would agree with him.
And hypocritical behavior. Look at the recent film glorifying predatory sexual advances towards underage males juxtaposed against the Me Too movement. Wow. What film are you talking about, Chuck Brown?
The recent film
glorifying predatory sexual advances towards underage males.
Spotlight?
I don't know.
Which is a few years ago? I don't know.
You'll have to tell us. And then Lucy Brown says, artistic liberties usually dim the actual message of a story. Factor in the actors' and directors' interpretations, and the actual story depends on the viewer's understanding. Well, that's the thing with The Shack, is it is all about the viewer's understanding, just like it's all about the reader's understanding. Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't read the book. Don't watch the movie.
Read the Bible if you want to know anything.
Read the Bible, and anybody who says that The Shack has changed them or it's transformative, I would avoid I would avoid asking that person for.
I thought you were going to say, I would avoid all contact with them. Honestly, I would
avoid
cut
walking
them from your lives.
I would avoid walking
And-
into that situation thinking that that is a person that maybe you should get some spiritual advice from, because clearly that person doesn't really understand what they're seeing. So
say a prayer for them.
And then send them to us, and
Say a
we'll
sincere
talk to
prayer for
them.
So, all right. Well, that about wraps it up. Just, yeah. If you're interested in today's topics or just staying relevant, go ahead and check out Culture Insanity at wordpress.wordpress.com, or you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Culture Insanity. Thank you for those people that participated this episode. It was fun to have your participation and to play off what you were talking about. So,
and useful for our audio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for helping. If you have something that you're personally interested in, reach out to us on any of those platforms. We're excited about our new director and producer that's going to help us really be viral on those platforms.
That's the plan.
In theory. So look forward to that moving forward, and reach out to us on those platforms. Like I said, we're looking to have a stronger presence. So if you're interested in exploring your faith or are completely new to Christ or the Bible, you can check out the help tab on vigilance.blog. Later this month, on the 25th of February, in Selwood at Emmanuel Lutheran Church.
And live on Facebook at 7 o'clock.
And live on Facebook. You can look for the event on ABF's Facebook page.
It'll be on ABF's Facebook page, and it'll also be on... we'll have the video up on Culture Insanity, as well as the other VRN programs like Truth Time and... the Viral Vigil.
The second cross-examination panel, which will be, some local pastors talking about this month is the Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit. Yep.
Holy Spirit. So that is at Emmanuel Lutheran in Selwood, Oregon at 7 p.m. at Pastor David Zemke's church, Emmanuel Lutheran. So
and on
look
Facebook
forward to that.
Live.
You can ask questions, submit questions. How?
Hashtag CrossX.
Hashtag
You put them
CrossX.
out there. You can put them on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll grab them.
So, yeah. So we look forward to your participation in that and hope that you can tune in or be there in the physical. So, with that, I'm just Jones and depressed.
We are men! Full-grown men! And we teach children lessons!
So with that, thanks for tuning into episode 9.
The views presented in this program are not meant to express the specific views of the Lafayette Bible Fellowship. You are listening to the Vigilance Radio Network.